Okay, welcome to this basic tutorial on how to use Display Genie. So what we do with Display Genie is we can create boxes. Basically, we can create any custom box that we want, and in this tutorial we're going to show you how to create a 12 inch by 12 inch by 12 inch standard box. So what you saw there is in the top left hand corner there is a create tab, and it's a lightning bolt box. So we'll click that, and that's going to bring up our library. So we'll go ahead and go into our standard library, and we will go to Freeform. Freeform allows us to create a from scratch template. So we'll click create, and that'll bring us into our creation area. So the first thing we need to do is select our material. We work with corrugated plastic, and it is 4mm. So we have our material selected, and we will go ahead and deselect the material and move into our dimensions pane. So in this area is where we can set all of our flap lengths. So basically you can see that baseline is that green hashed line you see to the right there, and we can change that with the baseline width square there. We change it to 12 inches. We're making a 12 by 12 by 12 box. So in the next boxes 1 through 9, you can make quick entry dimensions. Quick entries allow you to quickly snap the flap to the correct length that you want. So since we have a 12-inch box, I'm going to make one of our quick entries 12 inches. One of them is going to be 6 3/16, 12 3/8, and 2.5. And all of those dimensions come with equations. I'll go ahead and pop a few of those up on the screen. So this 6 3/16, this comes from the flap length. So that is going to be the width of your box plus 3/8 divided by 2. That's how you get that number. That's a really important number. You want your flaps to come and meet together very well on the box. So 12 3/8, that's going to be our lid flap length. It's 3/8 because you have to go over 2 3/16 pieces of plastic in the front and back there. You want that lid to clear those flaps. So now to add a flap, you saw there I clicked that line. You saw the pink highlights pop up there, and that indicates that that line is selected. And then we right click and go to at line, add basic flap, and then we can go ahead and use our quick entry dimensions. So you see here you have the ability to freely kind of slide this flap up and down. And what we want to do is we want to snap it to that 12 inches. So what I'll do is I'll just press 1 on my keyboard, and you'll see it quickly snap to 12 inches. Boom, 12 inches. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the 12-inch front, back, and left, right walls. So with at line, add basic flap. I'll press 1 on the keyboard to quickly snap that. And now I'll go around to these next 3 flaps, and I will press Control R. And that is a repeat command. So Control R, Control R, Control R to quickly repeat those 12-inch flaps. That's looking good. So now we can add our side flap. So go to at line, add basic flap, and now I'll press 2 on the keyboard to quickly snap it to that 6 3/16 width that we set. And the same thing here, we'll press Control R to repeat that flap length on these other 4 sides. Control R, Control R, Control R. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to edit our offset. So you see this arrow here, that is our directionality indicator. So we need to edit this left side here. So we're going to edit the left offset. We don't want those 2 flaps touching. We want them to actually have some separation. So we'll go left on the drop down menu here and select this. We'll go ahead and select this box here, and you'll see that flap come up out of contact from that wall. So there is some separation there. Now the software knows that those 2 are not connected. They are separated, and they're going to be cut. So this is a right offset. I'll go ahead and select right, click the check mark there and press OK. And again, those arrows are your directionality, so those are all pointing, those are your headings. So the right side here on this one, we'll go to edit right offset, click OK. And the same thing for this bottom one. This one's going to be a left offset. The arrow is facing forward. This is the left side in respect to the arrow. So we'll click left, select the check mark, and say OK. Now we have our offsets looking good. So now we're going to fillet these corners. We're going to go to at point, fillet, and we can press period on the keyboard to bring up this shortcut. We make 1/4 inch fillets. So we put 0.25 there, and we'll go around to all of these edges here and round them all off. The reason we round these edges is because they're very sharp. If you don't do this, they can actually cut you. They can cut your hands. And so we want to make them nice and rounded off and safe for people to handle. So we'll go to all of these. I'm just using Control R here. So it's a repeat command from the first fillet that we made. So the box is looking good. Now one thing we're missing is the lid. So I'll go to this top flap. I'm going to go to @line, add basic flap, and I'm going to press 3 on my quick entry dimensions and quickly snap that to 12 3/8. So that is our lid flap, and we're going to go ahead and add the side flaps to it. So @line, add basic flap, and click 4 on the quick entry dimensions. And now we can go ahead and go around to these other sides and Control R to repeat that 2.5 inch glue flap. So there you go. You see the lid starting to take shape. We need to add the small glue flaps on the top here. Same thing, @line, add basic flap, click 4 on the keyboard to quickly snap the length to what we want, 2.5 inches. That's looking good, and we do need to edit these offsets as well. So that arrow is indicating forward, which means we have a left offset we need to separate. There we go. The next one will be a right offset. Edit offsets, go to right, click the check mark there and press OK. That's looking good. We want to edit these offsets as well. That's a left offset. Remember, those arrows are your perspective indicators. They tell you which direction. This is a right offset. There we go. So now we're going to need to go around to these points, and we're going to chamfer this. The reason we chamfer this point, we're going to @point, go to chamfer, and slide that up until it's in contact with that bottom point there. And now we're going to need to drag those points up, and the reason that we do this is to allow the room lid to close. If you don't do this, that material is actually going to jam on the box, and you're not going to be able to close it very well. So we're going to slide these up about 1/2 inch right on top of each other, and that's looking good. Now we need to do the same thing on the other side. Unfortunately, the Control R command doesn't work for chamfering, so we'll have to manually chamfer both of these. So right click, @point, chamfer corner, slide it up. Now we have 2 points there that we're going to need to drag. We'll drag them up approximately 1/2 inch right on top of each other. So there we go. That looks good. And we'll take that bottom one now, and we will slide it up. So the last thing we need to do before this box is done is we need to fillet these top edges. You see they're still pretty sharp. So I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to select this point, and I'm going to go to right click, @point, fillet corner, press period on the keyboard, and 1/4 inch, so 0.25 inches, press OK. And now we can just go ahead and repeat that, Control R, and repeat that command. There we are. Now we have a nice looking finished box. So now we want to go ahead and save this in our library. And the way we do that is we go up here to the catalog, and that is going to be whatever client this is for. So we'll put client name in the catalog. And the style is going to be whatever shell style you're working on. This one is an outer shell, so that's what it would be. But this is a shell type, and the code will be shell type plus the date that you created that shell, just in case you ever need to come back and change it for any reason. So we can add that to the user library, and it will be there for future references. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and send that box. So we'll send it to the back pane, and we'll export it as a DXF. And you see here, whoops, we got a problem. The top left flap didn't show up, and that's because those points that we drug were not directly on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here and try and fix that. You see those points are a little bit separated. This point's a little bit lower. So I'm going to go to app. I'm going to just drag that point up just a little bit and say OK. And I'm going to send that box again and see if that fixes it. And it does. There you go. You see it right there. It fixed it. And now we have a completely finished box, and we can export this file as a DXF. And what you see here, those green lines indicate scoring lines, folding lines, and those red lines indicate cut lines. That's where the drag knife is actually going to cut this box out. So you save this file wherever you want to save it. Save it in your folder on the desktop. Whatever name client you're working on, we'll go ahead and save it like that. This is going to be a tutorial, so I'll just name it Display Genie Tutorial. And this is going to be an R12 outer shell tutorial. And we'll save it. So there you go. That's how you can quickly make a box using Display Genie. If you have any questions on how to use this software, go ahead and come ask me or anybody else who knows how to use the software, and we can get you where you need to be. Thanks for watching.